Thanks very much, Drew. You know, on the way in this evening, a friend and colleague who will remain nameless, except that those who know him know exactly what I'm talking about, reminded me that this particular moment in the calendar is auspicious, significant for a whole host of reasons. Yesterday was Russia's National Unity Day, something of a successor to the October Revolution Day, which conveys a whole lot of significance, some good, some bad, lots complicated. Today is actually Guy Fawkes Day, and I find myself seated next to my incredible colleague, Baroness Kathryn Ashton. I simply hope that being located here on Capitol Hill, let's say the basement's very, very far beneath us. As Jane mentioned, it's election eve, so we have another potential explosion coming tomorrow. Clearly at the Kennan Institute, we have an impeccable sense of timing. Drew, you also have an impeccable sense of timing. Your gift to get the Solzhenitsyn initiative off the ground, to sustain it over the years, makes you, I think, the krestny otets, the godfather of the Solzhenitsyn initiative at the Kennan Institute. Imagine if we had not been able to commemorate 100 years since Solzhenitsyn's birth to get this very important volume of his memoir of his time in the United States to an English-speaking audience. Round numbers, of course, aren't everything, but they're occasions worth celebrating. It was a little over a decade ago that we celebrated the centennial of George F. Kennan. And in fact, last month, we marked a half-century since the founding of the Wilson Center. The Kennan Institute itself is just a few years behind. It's at 44 years old this year, and we certainly have much to celebrate. Tonight, though, we'll celebrate the contribution that the Solzhenitsyn Initiative and Solzhenitsyn himself has made to understanding our shared history, Russian and American, recognizing what becomes possible when people with vision come together. In fact, all that we do at the Kennan Institute, from programs on history, culture, society, politics, economics, rule of law, security, and more, to publications, television, radio, newspapers, blogs, road shows across the United States, and conferences around the world, all of this is made possible by the vision and support of our long-standing partners, for whose family this dinner is named the Davis family. So to Diana Davis Spencer, to her daughter Abby Moffett, who couldn't be with us this evening, on behalf of all of the staff, the scholars, and alumni of the Kennan Institute, thank you for the trust and confidence you put in us and for your steadfast friendship and support. I'm also pleased that we can share the room tonight with some organizations that are wonderful partners of ours, and indeed, individuals who are very dear friends. I want to thank our co-hosts this evening, the Kluge Center, right here at the Library of Congress, and several of their guests tonight are actually former scholars of the Kennan Institute, so it's especially great to see them. Also from the library are our colleagues from the Open World program, a vital initiative that's enabled tens of thousands of individuals from Russia and the region to visit and learn in the United States. The Daniel Morgan Graduate School of National Security, which Jane mentioned, is also well represented with us. They have become a valued partner, and our joint fellows, Dr. Yuval Weber and Dr. Ed Lemon, our joint publications and events are making important contributions to national security education for both students and the broader public. I'm very glad to see our friends from the Carmel Institute for Russian History and Culture, whose work on these topics would have pleased both Solzhenitsyn and Kennan, I think. Drew, of course, has recognized the representatives from American Philanthropic, the Solzhenitsyn Family's agency for all they've done, and Steve Rinn from University of Notre Dame Press. I want to add my thanks to his. This night would not have been possible without them, truly. Of course, the Kennan Institute's partners within the Wilson Center are equally vital to our success. So I want to thank Jane, who introduced us this evening, Mike Forster, our COO, Rob Litvak, our Executive Vice President, excuse me, Linda Roth, and the other Wilson Center staff and family who are with us this evening, including Wilson National Cabinet member Frank Islam and Council member Grace Bender. And I want to echo Jane's recognition of our three former ambassadors to Russia in the room tonight, Jim Collins, John Byerly, and John Teft. That is a long, interesting, and I think soon to be documented in perhaps a number of fascinating literary works story. But these three men were at the helm of American diplomacy in Russia at pivotal moments in the history of the last 3 decades. And if you haven't spoken to them and introduced yourself, I encourage you to do it at some point tonight. They're truly great gentlemen, as well as leading American diplomats and experts on Russia. So, without further ado, it's a distinct pleasure and honor to present you with tonight's main course, or should I say main movement, Ignat? Okay, music jokes. I come from a family of musicians who would not be proud of that very lame joke. I did look this up, actually, and it turns out that symphonies have multiple movements, but there really isn't one that you could call the main movement. Is that right? They're all sort of, exactly, okay. So I did learn something about music. In conversation with Ignat tonight, I will be able to bring out some of the really interesting themes in Between Two Millstones. But before I move to invite Ignat up to the stage, I just want to say a word about him. Of course, he's Aleksandr's son, a world-famous conductor and pianist, and as I understand it, a veteran typesetter dating to your time assisting your mother and father on the manuscripts. Truly, 1970s typesetting technology is one of the most marketable skills he could have developed. I understand why you went into music. Ignat's full bio is in your program, but just to note his tremendous range and accomplishment. He's conducted in Moscow for the Moscow Symphony and St. Petersburg for the Mariinsky Orchestra and the St. Petersburg Philharmonic, legendary names, but has also conducted across the United States, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Buffalo, Cincinnati, Dallas, Indianapolis, Milwaukee. There are more names on the list, suffice to say, plus orchestras in Canada, Germany, the Czech Republic, and elsewhere. But that's only on one side of the baton. As a pianist, he has played solo and with orchestras across the world, and with some of the world's best conductors, besides, of course, himself. So, Ignat, would you please come join me on the stage for a conversation about Between Two Millstones?